All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Um, Welcome back to another CyberSec chat with myself, Ryan from Everble, and Dominique as well. Thanks again for joining us this week.
No problem. Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
yeah, man. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I am curious. I'm a little bit jealous. Things are very overcast and rainy over here in the UK. How is the weather treating you in Croatia? Is it warm? Is it cold?
Right now it's let me check. It's around, I would say, like 18 degrees, 17. So
Yeah.
that it's fine.
That was
Uh,
one of the things I experienced, coming from South Africa, is the wind is just like completely different in Europe. It's like an icy, cold chill, it goes
yeah,
straight into your
yeah,
bones. It's a completely
yeah,
different
yeah.
experience.
That's true.
Um,
That's true.
yeah, so I'm really excited and passionate about today's topic. I think you are as well.
Yeah.
It's security and the importance of security education. Now, I've done plenty of research on this, and I see when it comes to this topic, I feel a lot of people, it's almost polarizing to an extent. Some
Mm.
people don't view it as important, where other people view it as the most important. Um, so, I would like to quickly outline a few things with today's topic. Um, I've got my notes here on my left. So, why an organization should promote a strong understanding of security and highlight the importance of maintaining an elevated level of security knowledge and skills within an organization to continue offering high quality products to customers. So essentially, it's the importance of educating your staff, with the right security knowledge and with the end goal of always offering, the highest quality products that you can. Because and I say this every single time, but your product and it's directly linked to your reputation, and your reputation and your company are, they go hand in hand. I
Mm.
mean, I was thinking the other day, this is a bit off topic, walking down the streets in London and seeing like name brand clothing for ridiculous amounts of money. I'm not a name brand person, but it kind of clicked for me, and it's like that name has that reputation.
Mm.
And if someone says to you, "Oh, I'm not going to say any names, but this name brand doesn't really work well," then it doesn't hit the same. You're not going to want to go and buy that sort of thing. Um,
Mm.
so I think it's the same, whether you're looking for a winter jacket or looking for security education for your organization. Um, the
But I
same
mean,
goes. Yeah, sorry, you were saying.
and yeah, and it's the same. Like you see these kind of quotes sometimes passing by also on LinkedIn. Like it takes many years to build up a reputation, right? But
Yeah,
it can be gone in a couple of seconds.
just like that. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, and as the saying goes, knowledge is power. So I think it's important to know and understand how attackers may exploit weaknesses in your application, um, or weaknesses in your infrastructure. It enables engineers to think of more secure ways to write code. So I think a question I have for you is, some of the main ways that attackers attacking, whether it's weaknesses in your application or your infrastructure, how is it beneficial for engineers to know the ways in which they're being attacked?
Yeah, I mean it's just like you said, right? So if you have this mindset and you think about, okay, how might a hacker or person that doesn't have the best intentions exploit this functionality, then you directly start thinking in a different way on how to build it, because
Yeah,
some of the times people don't think, okay, I made this, but how can it be actually abused? Right? They only think about the good use cases, but not about the bad use cases. So
yeah,
in security, we also sometimes refer that to abuser cases, instead of use cases, abuse cases. And it's very important to think like that, because if you have that mindset, then you directly start coding in a different way and start thinking about your product or application in a different way.
Yeah, it kind of leads on into our topic for in the next 2 weeks, which is, I believe, secure by design. And I think that it's perfect that this is the topic now because, as I said, they lead into one another. Um, but you can't design it securely if you're not thinking about, the insecurities of it.
Yeah, because
Um,
doing it later on, trying to put a band-aid everywhere on it, that's not, that will not help, because that will also, you will lose oversight. So you're just putting band-aids on a product, and at some point you will not know anymore where you put it and where you didn't. So it really
yeah,
needs to be from the start.
yeah. I was actually chatting to a potential partner, and he was mentioning how their approach is whack-a-mole.
Mm,
So as problems arise, they whack them all. And it's inefficient. It really, really is. And he recognized that it's a tremendous flaw in their processes at the moment.
mm.
Um,
And
yeah, and
extremely stressful, of course.
yeah, because it's. I feel like these things tend to happen at the most untimely manner. They catch you by surprise at the worst times. You
Mm,
think, oh God, no,
yeah,
I've got to deal with this. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
yeah.
Um, Another thing that kept coming up as I was doing my research on this topic is that companies need to realize that security is everyone's responsibility, all the way from the top members of the board to I don't want to reference it as top and bottom, but everybody in the company is equally responsible. Okay, there's different levels of responsibility, but
Mm,
regardless, you know, um, essentially your organization's security is only as strong as its least informed person or staff member.
mm,
And that's why it's so important to raise security awareness and educate everyone properly in this. Um,
yeah.
so we were referring to people, processes, and technology. And I want to know what you feel about this. So people are a third of the problem, essentially.
Mm,
So logically, a third of your efforts should go towards educating them and making them aware of their security responsibilities.
yeah.
Um, when I say that to you, does that resonate with you? Do you agree with that?
I mean, definitely, like we discussed last time, people as the first pillar, right? People as the first step. Then you come to processes and technology. It's not that after you've done the processes or after you have the technology that then, okay, you should start educating, right?
Mhm.
That should be the first starting point. And like you said, I never looked in it in such a way, like a third of the whole effort should go, but that's really true.
Yeah. And do you find from your own opinion that, organizations kind of shy away from educating about security? Because as I said, it's quite polarizing. I find that some
Mm,
people feel that it's the most important, but others might say, oh, we're more concerned about product and delivery and deployment and things like that. They're not
yeah.
so worried about security education.
Yeah, I think they know that it's important, but they find it difficult to organize it, and that is also difficult to organize, right? You need
Yeah,
to not only keep the people engaged and have kind of a nice way to do education, because if it gets boring, no one will do it. So you will get no one on board. It needs
yeah,
to be specific. It needs to be the right type of education. So it is it's not an easy task. Yeah?
no,
So I don't think they shy away from it. However, it's a difficult, yeah, it's a challenging thing to implement. And if you then look at, for example, the business pressure and getting, a product out to customers, they know, okay, this really needs to happen. And then
yeah,
this pressure comes from the business, and then then there is less priority for other things. But if there would be an easy way or a more easier way to organize this, I think that would help a lot of companies, because then they would have an option to organize it, in a proper way, and so that they don't have to spend time on that themselves as well.
Yeah.
So,
This perfectly leads into the next sort of area of discussion here, and that's how do you educate your staff? And I believe, I'm not sure if we mentioned it last week, but talking about how some ways of education are just ineffective. Watching
yeah, really,
videos and then having a multiple choice questionnaire. I know from my own experience, that's not very efficient, and people just forget so quickly. It's just one of those things, you get the certification and you think, okay, well, I'm done. So it's important to implement this continuous learning. And we found at the moment that gamifying education is one of the best ways. It keeps people, you know, interested. It kind of, it makes it some sort of fun way to learn, and you almost get more focused on scoring points or whatever the case is, and you don't realize, oh wow, I'm actually having a great time learning all of this security knowledge.
Yeah, I think gamifying and immersive learning is very important.
Immersive
Like,
learning.
yeah, like it needs to be close to the actual work that people are doing. When I was in high school, I got different subjects, of course, and of some of these subjects, I was thinking, what the hell should I ever do with this, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same with let's say if we talk about security, it needs to be close to the stuff that people are working on.
Yeah.
You're not going to teach let's say engineers that are working on a Java application how to do it in JavaScript or in Python.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, some of the broader concepts apply to all of these languages. But if you really want to get them engaged and make the connection, like, oh wow, I mean, that's also my work, exactly that code that I'm writing, and this is how that makes it even a better experience and better learning experience.
Nice. It's well said. I want to go through my notes here. So, effective education, as I think we've touched on, is key. And how can we effectively educate people? And this touches on what you just said: is make it real. Don't give them, you've got to give them examples that are relevant to them. And I think this is what's so great about Everble is that, our hands-on labs simulate real scenarios. And it isn't a few videos, like we said, with multiple choice questions at the end. And I find if you can learn to do something in a practical way, I mean, just as an example from my own experience, okay? So this is quite a funny story. When I was younger, one of my kitchen doors, like the cupboard came off, right? And I'm a hands-on learner, all right? And I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to try and figure out how I can put this on completely on my own. And ever since then, just fiddling around and, a real in-life scenario situation, I figured out how to do it. And now I'll never forget how to, it's something so small, but I feel like having that practical and hands-on sort of situation, it kind of imprints it into your brain instead of seeing it or hearing it and then having to like learn it parrot fashion. I don't know if that's a saying that you're familiar with.
Parrot, what?
Parrot fashion. So this is quite interesting. It's a way that I used to learn my Afrikaans, which is a derivative of Dutch, and we had to give Afrikaans prepared speeches in school, and I would just memorize the whole thing and not even know what it means. So I was just saying like, "Dankie dat julle blah 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 blah," just going on about something and not actually understanding what it is saying.
I think that's also a very important point. Like actually understanding what the problem is or what you're doing, and not being an autopilot.
Yeah, so true. So true.
And I mean, in the end, the type of education that we are talking about, it's not, because we're talking about technology. it changes so fast. Technology is advancing at so high, rates. It's not like we are teaching people, I don't know, to learn, for example, about the traffic rules. Right? Traffic rules
Yeah.
don't change every 1 to 2 months or 3 months. Technology does. So you need a different type of learning for that. So I think that's also important to mention that some parts of education can be different because it's not changing so rapidly.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. So when you talk about security education and the fact that it's constantly evolving, what type of education do you think would be most effective when it comes to learning about this, ever-changing environment?
I mean, there are different types of learning, right, within security, IT security, because of course you have the awareness, you have the employees, that know, okay, how should I handle my email, in a secure way? But then you also have the engineers, right? So you need a different type of education and maybe a different type of learning, because people that work in marketing, they are not going to develop a piece of code. So I think it's very important to look at the target audience. I think we also, briefly touched upon that last time, and see in what way they can learn the best, right, about security. And even though there are, there are broad concepts within security that are applied to everything, you always have some specific rules or implementation techniques or that you need to know if you're in a certain target audience or you're working on something specifically within IT security.
Yeah. One of the things I heard you mention now is, talking about, for instance, marketing can learn about security education, but engineers need a completely different understanding of education. And I think that's a differentiation between security awareness and, real coding security knowledge.
Mm.
And both are very important because, I mean, they both present some more than others, but they both present a way in a sense, like a weakness. If someone's not aware of how they make their organization vulnerable through phishing or something like that, then that could be the downfall of your company. So
Mm.
just to kind of circle back, this is why it's so important to have security awareness within an organization and to make people aware of their responsibilities when it comes to security.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I feel like I've gone through my notes quite well. Another one that you mentioned about, I find this quite interesting. So Agile and DevOps, they promote the practices of, continuous integration and continuous delivery and continuous deployment. Now, I'm taking this directly from the book once again, and I thought this was brilliant. So this whole concept of continuous and implementing it, continuous education needs to be added to this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very good point. I think
Yeah,
this is very interesting. Like we have continuous integration, whereas
yeah,
continuous learning.
it's something to think about. And I think, props to Glenn, very knowledgeable when it comes to this. And reading this gave me a really good insight. So I can't thank him enough for allowing us to plug his book every single episode. I must actually get in touch with him and see if we can do another episode with him. But
Yeah.
that kind of wraps it up for us now. We've got about maybe 3 more minutes. I would like to, maybe open it up, see if there's any questions for us. If they've got anything that they agree with, anything that, viewers are disagreeing with.
Or that they would like to see discussed maybe for next time.
Yes, of
More
course.
in
Yeah.
depth. Do you see any specific questions?
I don't see any at the moment here. Well, that's all right. If anything pops up, I'll be sure to contact them personally and get a conversation started. But anyway, Dominique, I'm going to say thank you once again. It's always a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you know so much about this, so much about cybersecurity. I always learn so much, you know, chatting to you about this. And yeah, thanks for your company, and I wish you a great Friday.
Thank you, Ryan. You as well, and thank you for the listeners that have listened to us. I hope that we touch upon some good points that everyone can take home. And yeah, happy Friday and happy weekend, everyone.
Nice. Ciao.
Bye bye.